Hey everybody, Christian from Treasure Town here, and today we're going to be covering one of the coolest coins out there, the 1943D penny, and going over everything that you'd want to know about it, including its errors, including the bronze error that recently sold for $840,000, but there's also a lot that are just the normal steel version, and they can have some cool things to look for, whether it is an error or it's a variety, which is where you can look really closely for some certain characteristics that would make the coins worth a fair bit more. We'll also cover just general history and go over some of the values based off of what condition your coin's in. So let's get right into the presentation. And let's get right into speaking about the coins, starting with a brief 1943 overview in general, which the wheat cent was from 1909 to 1958, but 1943 was right in the middle of World War II, and the U.S. said that they needed more copper, mostly to direct towards ammunition, but for general wartime purposes, and they landed with a zinc-coated low-grade steel composition for the cent. After testing out a lot of different potential alloys, but they were not super popular because when they were new, sometimes people mistook them for dimes. They were magnetic, so they wouldn't work in vending machines. They're the only circulating magnetic US coin to date. And they were really ugly once they got circulated. They would have a super dark sort of surface and they would rust. It wasn't a great coin for long-term use. So they decided to go back to a similar composition to what had been used before, though there were a few other more complicated details that I'm not going to go into about the composition, but really the only noticeably different coin in the penny series is in 1943. Now, obviously, there were a few that were the old bronze composition, and I'll talk about that on the next slide, but here's just a general value chart. In terms of submitting the coins, you probably are going to want to have it in mint state 66 or 67 before it's worth submitting a fair amount of them, and really that 67 range is the right place when you should submit it to PCGS. In average condition, they're probably going to be worth about 20 cents. Now, the biggest coin, this is really the king of error coin collecting in the United States. It's the 1943D bronze planchet Lincoln cent, because the Philadelphia Mint has about 10 to 15 known, and the San Francisco, I believe there's 6 known of these, but there's only one from 1943D at the Denver Mint. Again, that's that D mint mark, and it sold recently for $840,000. It's an extremely nice strike. Some at one point theorized that it was double struck, though I don't believe that Heritage Auctions, who is the firm that auctioned the coin, one of the major auction firms in the world, they are not necessarily sure that they agree with that, but it's certainly an authentic bronze planchet 1943D, super rare. Most of the time it'll be plated or poorly done. The weight is 2.7 grams for the zinc ones, so if it's very similar to that, then maybe it's going to have been plated, but it'll be pretty clear if the coin has been plated with bronze material. But there was a rumor that Henry Ford, would give out a car to anybody that could give him a bronze 1943 cent. It's sort of the king of all of the collectors' error, what they think about, but then it's also the most rare within that series. So that's what we've got here. Really, really cool, unique coin that we, as far as we know, was likely made by a Denver Mint employee. Now, there's other things that you should be looking closely at the coins for. I'll go through, and there's a fair amount of things that we'll be discussing. So the valuations here, they're often maybe $10, $15 more than what a coin without the error would have, except for a few cases, but there's some double die obverses. This one has a nice spread on the inside of the 9 and the outside of the 3, in addition to what looks like a repunched mint mark. There's also a doubled eyelid. There's like a second eyelid below, and I didn't do literally every single variety that is known, but I tried to get a good sampling of all of the main ones. There's different doubled eyelids, but this one is the most prominent. There's also a really nice 1943D double die obverse that's a little bit different. It's the first in Wexler's, and Kaneka also recognizes it, but a really pretty strong spread there on the 9 underside of the 1. And this one has the highest valuation probably of the varieties that are not repunched mint marks. There's some pretty expensive ones that we'll get into in a moment. Here's a nice double die obverse, this time on the Liberty, and a little bit of a rotational spread in the In God We Trust, but clear separation on the bottom of the B especially. Similar thing here, more separation though on the insides of the B and the tops of the E, T, and R in Liberty. And then we've got this one where it's an extra thickness, so distended hub doubling, class 6, as well as tripling in the crosslet of the 4 that you can see right there. So that's some nice markers. And then there's also some double die reverses. This one has a clear spread on the E especially, also a little bit to the left of the C in cent. There's going to be multiple ones up top on the E pluribus unum and then some extra thickness, but we aren't getting into that. Here's a really prominent repunchment mark, and this is going to be the second most valuable variety, followed by the one I'm about to show you. But this one has a super clearly repunched D to the I guess this is the southwest. The repunching was done to the northeast of the original southwest mint mark, but it probably did not take properly the first time it was punched into the die, so they repunched it. People pay up to $250 to $750 in mint state, as opposed to a $10 to $20 coin. So it's really significant. This one would probably, some people said, would be estimates in the like $10,000 range. I find it a little strange. It's the only one that is known. I couldn't find a photo of it, so I drew it on what it would look like based off of the Cherry Picker's Guide, but it's going to be a clear, if you look back, it'll sort of have the same base, except it's going to have started and then continue to the southeast instead of being in the southwest. So that one's a really good one to be on the lookout for. The next ones I'm going to go pretty quickly through. These are only certifiable at NGC, but they're also recognized by Kaneka, but a south repunching. Here's another south repunching that's pretty strong. There's going to be a more of a, I guess here on the underside, and then this D is in the southwest. There's also going to be one where it's more towards the south. These could be a little challenging to find in really circulated conditions, and there's not huge premiums for them. But AU or mint state is really where you're going to need to find these. And then right here we see as well some pretty clear shelving through there. Then right here we've got a little bit of a tilted repunchment mark you can see on that southwest side. And then this one, nice. I think this is a little nicer. You can clearly see again tilted on both the northwest and southwest. And then here we'll start some error coins. So this was struck 15% off center in remarkably nice preservation state, but the planchet just was not fully fed into the striking where the dies are striking, and this one sold for about $2,000. Really, really good looking error. This one is what's known as a straight clip, so it was either on the side or the ends of the sheet of metal that where the planchets were punched out of, and obviously cut off. But this one wasn't super significant, made its way through and sold for $90 again, as opposed to like $30. Still not a bad find. This double struck coin is really cool. Took a good eye to spot this one, but you can see the outline of Liberty as well as Lincoln's head here. Somehow it got struck in additional wheat ears, and then flipped around and struck again over that initial striking. But still took a close eye to find this. This was a $495 coin instead of about $5 or $10, so great find for that person. This one is a little more obvious that it's been double struck. Now it's a little tougher for me to see the markers that it was flip over double struck, which means that the planchet flipped over literally, but you can see how the In God We Trust, it's not like the planchet has expanded beyond its normal size with some metal flow outward, and it's not fully circular as you can see from the slab that's been put in, but this sold for $630 quite a long time ago. And then lastly, we've got this Australia sixpence. They were striking 92.5% silver coins for Australia at the time because the United States struck a bunch of coins for other countries during World War II. Right here, there's a little bit of weakness. Probably it wasn't properly adjusted to the pressure that would have been used to strike silver as opposed to the zinc and steel. So this resulted $4,300, one of the really cool, I think a nice bargain or budget find compared to the $840,000 for the earlier one. I'm going to go all the way back to finish on that because it's just such a cool coin. What an awesome one to be able to talk about. I'll probably do a more extended video on just this find itself, but really, really great to be able to present this stuff to you, and obviously can pause to learn more about any of these double dies or repunch mint marks, but hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to like the video, comment, and make sure to subscribe to my channel. And I also have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and some other social media platforms. You can also go to my main channel website, treasuretownYT.com, to learn more about the channel and sort of stay in contact. I also will eventually host all of these videos on coinsmetalscards.com, which will be both news, marketplace, and coin information. I do have the goal of eventually getting pretty much every US coin, date, mint mark, denomination on the channel with a similar video to the one that you just watched, and that will likely all be hosted there. And then I also have treasuretowncoins.com, which is sort of my coin dealing wing, coin dealing only entity that is a little bit less focused on content production. So thank you so much, and I'll look forward to seeing you on some of my other videos. I also have videos that are not just the date, mint mark, denomination recap in this format, so you can check some of those out, and I'll have fun seeing you there.